Hello friends, this is Ryan Hicks at TaughtToProfit.com. Today I want to talk to you about a verse that is often used to make an excuse for poverty, as if you're supposed to be poor. God made you that way, and the rich people, God made them that way, and there's no way of becoming one or the other. You just have to fall into whatever God made you to be, and this is untrue. The verse is Proverbs 22:2, which says, "The rich and the poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all." Now, this has been throughout centuries quoted as to indicate that people are made to be rich or made to be poor. God's the maker of them all. That's not what it's saying. It's saying He's the maker of all men, rich or poor, black or white, whatever it may be, whatever your situation is, God is your maker. The Lord is the maker of them all. This doesn't mean that He is choosing some to be rich, choosing some to be poor. That's not the way it works. Actually, what this says is the rich and the poor meet together. It means they kind of need each other. And it should be noted that there's no middle class mentioned here. They fall in line with the poor. So the understanding here is that the rich need the poor need the rich, because who's helping the poor? The poor man in need, who's getting help the most from the rich people? It's poor people. Rich people generally aren't giving to charities that help other rich people. They don't exist because the rich don't need the help. Charities, hospitals, food banks, all these things are founded and funded by people with wealth. The poor aren't funding those things. They're the ones going to them in need to get their needs met. We all work together. We need each other, but no one, and I must stress this, no one needs to be poor. Your birthright is abundance. Your birthright is health. Your birthright is abundance and blessing and wealth. As a human being, you shouldn't be poor. You do not have to be poor. God didn't make you and create you to be poor. Just because you were born in some country that may be poor doesn't mean you have to be poor. Stop with this mentality. As long as you think that, you absolutely will stay poor. And you'll fall in line with that mentality. Whatever you're thinking, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And that's exactly what you'll be. You'll be poor as long as you think you somehow deserve it. You think you somehow have earned it. Now, maybe you have. Maybe you've done things that have earned you poverty. You've done things that have brought you to the brink of destruction, financially and materially speaking. All you do is change it. Stop doing those things. If you made bad decisions, stop making them. If maybe things seem beyond your control, well, what can you control? And then do the best in those things you can control and start making a better life for yourself each and every day. Many people don't do this. When I was growing up, very poor, around poor people, every now and then you would see someone strive for betterment. And they would do something. I'm going to do this better. And normally it was around the first of the year, New Year's resolutions. We're going to do this. We're going to become wealthy. We're going to get rich. We're going to do that. And then it would last so short amount of time. They would make changes. They would become better for a few weeks. And then because they didn't have money flowing out of heaven, they didn't have Rolls Royces, and they just gave up. Well, I guess I'm just meant to be poor. And then the excuses would come in. Well, God's just not blessing us. God must want us to be poor. We're all poor around here. And that was the excuse constantly made, the mentality people brought in to life. And then they wonder why they stayed poor. When they believed they earned that. They believed that God forced it upon them. The universe, by God's divine decree from all eternity past, they were to be poor. As if God made any person in this universe that has such abundance to be lacking in that abundance. It doesn't even make any sense. That people can sit back and look at the abundance in the universe, the abundance on our planet, the infinite supply that's available to all humans, and think that God created them to be in lack, to go without, is absurd. If you just look at what's available, what exists, and think that you don't deserve anything, that you're just supposed to have a little bit, things are supposed to be held back from you. That doesn't even make any sense. But as long as you believe that, you will have exactly what you believed. It will be done according to your faith. It'll be done unto you. So you want to keep believing for poverty, keep believing you deserve to be poor, and I'm lumping the middle class in the poor category because in many cases they're the same, they just have a little bit more money. But there's very little keeping them from entering into dire poverty if they lost their job or something happened. They have no real wealth. But that shouldn't be you. You should have an abundance. You should be one of the people that is helping the poor, that is pulling them out of the gutter into wealth. If they want. This is the thing, you can't make anybody. If people have that poverty mentality, they keep that mentality in place. They refuse to make the changes they needed. They refuse to give up vices. I hear so many excuses. As long as people want to live in excuses and be lazy, and that's just the reality of what it is. Excuses are lazy. That's a lazy person's mentality. And I've heard people say, well, I know this person, they make excuses, but they really work hard each day. Yeah, they do. There are poor people who work hard, but they make excuses. They work harder at making excuses. And opportunities that come their way, they don't take them because of fear. They're ruled by fear. They're ruled by a desire for entertainment and things of this nature that, quite frankly, they haven't done the things they need to do to get out of that poverty. They may work hard at some menial job and then wonder why they don't get rich, when they know they've already hit the peak for that job. There's nowhere else to go. And so when other opportunities appear, they don't take them. Because the fearful thing, when you're ruled by fear, you'd much rather work that hard job that you at least know it's stable, you know your income. And so people rather stay in that, work harder than they have to, get less than they deserve, but there's no risk. But taking the other opportunity, well, they may have to move, there may be risk, they may not get the same money they're getting now, they may get less. It's just not worth it. I'm not going to take that chance. And you'll hear people talk themselves out of blessing that is being open to them, but they choose poverty. The same thing could be said when people get sick. You may say, well, how could somebody get sick? How could they choose that? Well, go to gyms, especially higher end gyms. Who is in there? Look at the cars in the parking lot. Many times it is wealthier people. Now, why are the poor not taking care of themselves? Why are they not doing the things and working out each day? I've known a number of poor people, and I've known a number of wealthy people, and we work out. Wealthy people work out. You exercise, you keep yourself healthy because you realize the value in your health, that you can't function and you can't continue that wealth and be a blessing to other people when you yourself are sick. But I've known plenty of people who are poor, who didn't take care of themselves, then get some sort of illness, then they have to go on disability and get really small amounts of money, and they blame everything else besides self, besides saying, you know what, I didn't take care of myself. I didn't do the things I need to do. And because here it is, health is one of the parts of wealth. Having all the money in the world but being sick is not good. Health goes right along with wealth. If you want to be wealthy, if you want to be rich, you have to have an abundance of health too, and energy as well. Because the wealthy tend to do more and perform better because they have more energy. Now, that's not, of course, there are going to be exceptions to the rule, but the point is, you have to take control of your life. You can't look at things as if God somehow dealt you this bad hand because the rich and the poor meet together, the Lord is the maker of them all, and he somehow made you to be poor, and you just got to fall in line with that mentality. No. And here's another thing about this particular verse. Many people who are rich started out very poor. So if God made them to be poor, how in the world did they become rich? How did they go through their lives 30, 40, 50 years of poverty, and then all of a sudden they made changes and became rich, sometimes exceedingly rich? You never know, especially if you have this mentality somehow these are just predetermined things. rich or poor, healthy or sick, why don't you do everything you can to see maybe you're one of those people who's supposed to be rich? And the reality is it's not that way anyway. You make the choices. The things you do determine whether you'll be rich or poor. The things you determine whether you'll be sick or healthy. And of course, there are things that are beyond people's control. But even those things you can change and make them work out for your best. It's all a matter of your mindset. It's all a matter of who you choose to believe. You choose to believe that the blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich and he addeth no sorrow with it? Or you choose to believe that God somehow made you poor, chose you specifically to be poor and someone else over here to be rich? When you look at the universe as limited, lacking, then you will have that. But when you see there's abundance everywhere, go out, go for a walk in the woods or in a nice relaxing area or outside of the urban environment and look at what exists. Look at all the birds and the animals and the trees and the life. There is an abundance. Beneath the soil, there's an abundance of all kinds of things that we look at as valuable, from precious metals to oil to whatever it may be. Out of the soil grows all kinds of food and things for your health and preservation. There is an abundance. If you can't see it, ask God to open your eyes to the abundance. Because as long as you think that you're supposed to be poor, these people are supposed to be rich, that somebody's rich at the sake of your poverty, meaning they're taking away from you, that to become rich, you have to take from others, which is not the case. To become rich, you have to give to others because you're creating things. Most of the wealthiest people in the world didn't become wealthy through real estate or stocks. They became wealthy through businesses, creating something that other people want in a large enough number that they become very wealthy. They're not taking from people, they're giving people something they want and they're willing to pay for because it has value to them. And so change your mentality. There may be evil rich people, evil poor people. None of that matters. Stop looking for anybody as an excuse for why you are in the position you're in. You are the person who determines. You're the person who makes the decision for your life. What condition are you in? What can you do to change that starting today? It may not be overnight, but what can you do to change that starting today? To become one of the rich. God made all people. The Lord's the maker of all. You are the one who chooses whether you become the rich or the poor. And if you're already poor, you determine whether you stay that way. If you're already rich, you determine whether you stay that way. Because a simple change in your mindset can dramatically influence your health, your wealth, and your mentality. My friends, I pray it's been a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.